Rain poured over the narrow alleyways of the city, washing away the stench of gasoline and secrets. Inside Margot's diner, a flickering neon sign buzzed against the night, casting pink light across cracked windows. Lena wiped the counter for the 5th time, pretending not to notice the leaky ceiling or the clock that ticked past midnight. She was used to empty nights, cheap coffee, and the slow ache of dreams she could never afford. Then, the door slammed open. A woman stumbled in, drenched, bleeding, and dangerous. Her black leather coat clung to her like armor, her dark eyes flicking around the room with a predator's precision. Every movement screamed control, yet something fragile flickered beneath the surface. Lena froze. The stranger's presence swallowed the diner whole. "Coffee," the woman rasped, her voice low and commanding, as if she wasn't leaving room for questions. Lena blinked. "You're hurt." "I said coffee," she repeated, but her hand trembled as she gripped the counter. A thin line of blood dripped down her wrist, staining the metal surface. Without another word, Lena grabbed a towel, wrapping it gently around the woman's hand. "You'll get blood everywhere," she whispered. The stranger's gaze snapped to her, sharp, untrusting, yet strangely soft. "You don't want to get involved with me." "Too late," Lena said, meeting her eyes. For a moment, silence filled the diner. Just the hum of the old refrigerator and the rain pounding on the windows. The woman's breathing slowed, her eyes scanning Lena's face, as if measuring her soul. "What's your name?" Lena asked quietly. The woman hesitated. "Call me Rhea." Lena smiled faintly. "Rhea. Okay. Well, Rhea, I think you're losing more than just patience tonight." Something like a smirk ghosted across Rhea's lips. She watched Lena pour coffee, the steam curling between them like invisible heat. When Lena handed her the cup, their fingers brushed, barely, but it was enough. A spark passed through both women, too real to ignore. "Why are you helping me?" Rhea murmured. Lena shrugged. "Maybe I like trouble." Rhea tilted her head, studying her like prey. "Then you just found it." Outside, the sound of tires screeched. Headlights flashed across the window, 3 black cars sliding to a stop. Men in suits spilled out, moving fast. Lena's pulse spiked. Rhea stood, her expression hardening. "They found me," she whispered. Then, she turned to Lena, her tone sharp but calm. "If you want to live, keep quiet and trust me." Before Lena could speak, Rhea grabbed her hand, strong, sure, and burning hot despite the rain still dripping from her clothes. And in that single, breathless moment, Lena knew, her ordinary life was over. She didn't know who Rhea really was. She only knew one thing: trusting her would be the most dangerous decision she'd ever make. The neon lights of the diner flickered one last time before Rhea yanked Lena toward the back door. Rain battered the roof as thunder cracked like a warning shot. Lena barely had time to grab her jacket before Rhea pushed open the emergency exit, pulling her into the wet night. They ran. The sound of heavy boots pounded behind them, voices barking orders, radios crackling. Rhea didn't look back. Her grip on Lena's hand was firm, protective, almost desperate. They turned down an alley, splashing through puddles, hearts thundering in rhythm with the storm. Lena gasped for breath. "Who are those men?" Rhea's jaw tightened. "People who don't like being betrayed." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you need right now," Rhea said sharply, then softened her tone. "Just trust me, remember?" Lena wanted to argue, but the way Rhea said "trust me," low, steady, almost pleading, made her heart skip. There was something about her that felt dangerous and safe at the same time, like fire that wouldn't burn her if she stayed close enough. They ducked into an abandoned warehouse, the air inside heavy with dust and rust. Rhea finally released Lena's hand and pressed her back against the wall, listening. Her eyes darted to every shadow, calculating escape routes. She moved like someone trained to survive, but her breathing betrayed pain. "You're still bleeding," Lena whispered. "I've had worse." "You'll have worse if you don't let me help." Lena stepped closer, her voice trembling but firm. She tore a strip from her apron and reached for Ria's arm. Ria hesitated, but when Lena's fingers brushed her skin, she didn't pull away. Lena wrapped the makeshift bandage around the wound, her hands gentle, her breath warm. Their eyes met in the dim light seeping through broken windows. "You shouldn't care this much," Ria murmured, watching her. "You don't even know me." Lena smiled faintly. "Maybe I like finding reasons to care." Ria's lips curved, but her eyes stayed dark. "You're going to regret this, sweetheart." "Maybe," Lena whispered, tying the bandage tight. "But not tonight." A moment of silence stretched between them, heavy, electric, unspoken. The rain outside softened, replaced by the steady sound of their breathing. Then, Ria reached out, tucking a damp strand of hair behind Lena's ear. Her touch lingered. "You've got fire in you, Waitress." Lena swallowed hard. "And you've got a death wish. Maybe that's why we met." Before Lena could reply, a sound echoed through the warehouse, footsteps, distant but approaching. Ria's body stiffened. "They found us again," she whispered. Without thinking, Lena grabbed Ria's hand. "Then we keep moving." Ria looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, something like admiration flickered in her eyes. She nodded once. "All right, Angel. Lead the way." And so they ran again, two women in the storm, bound by danger, drawn by something neither could name. By the time they reached the edge of the city, the rain had turned into a fine mist. The streets were quiet, the kind of eerie silence that only comes before dawn. Ria led Lena to a small, forgotten motel that looked like it hadn't seen guests in years. A flickering sign read vacancy, one light barely clinging to life, just like them. Inside, the air smelled of dust and damp wood. The clerk didn't even look up from his newspaper when Ria slid a wad of cash across the counter. No questions asked. That was how places like this worked. They slipped into a room at the end of the hall, small, dim, one bed, cracked mirror, and a single yellow lamp buzzing faintly. Ria locked the door, double-checked the window, and only then seemed to breathe again. Lena watched her peel off her wet jacket, revealing the faint outline of a gun holstered against her side. It made Lena's stomach twist, not with fear, but fascination. This woman had fought for her life tonight, and yet here she was, still standing, still dangerous, still beautiful. "You should sleep," Ria said, her voice quieter now. Lena crossed her arms. "You're the one bleeding." "I'll sleep when you do." Ria gave a faint laugh. "You don't give up, do you?" "Not when someone I care about looks like they might fall apart." The words hung in the air. Ria turned to her slowly, eyes narrowing, not out of anger, but disbelief. "You care about me?" "I don't know why," Lena admitted, "but yes. Maybe because you look like someone who hasn't been cared for in a long time." For a moment, Ria said nothing. The silence between them grew thick, intimate. Then she reached out, her fingertips brushing against Lena's wrist. The touch was soft, hesitant, like a question neither of them wanted to ask out loud. "You should be afraid of me," Ria whispered. "You don't know what I've done." "Then tell me," Lena said gently. "Tell me who you really are." Ria looked away, jaw tightening. "I can't. Not yet." "Then don't," Lena replied, stepping closer. "Just let me help you, for tonight." Ria's eyes flicked back to her. The air felt charged, the distance between them closing with every breath. Lena lifted a towel and dabbed at the blood near Ria's collarbone. Their faces were inches apart now, her hand trembling slightly as it rested against Ria's shoulder. "Does it hurt?" she asked softly. Ria's voice was barely a whisper. "Only when you stop touching me." Something inside Lena shifted, fear, curiosity, desire, melting into one. She met Ria's eyes, seeing not just danger, but pain, loneliness, and a fragile kind of trust. Ria exhaled slowly. "You don't know what you're getting yourself into." "Maybe not," Lena whispered, "but I'm already in it." The rain started again outside, a steady rhythm against the window. Neither woman moved. The world could wait, for now, There was only the quiet space between danger and something that felt dangerously close to love. The room had grown quiet except for the rain's gentle rhythm tapping on the glass. Rhea sat on the edge of the bed, her shoulders heavy beneath the weight of exhaustion and secrets. Lena knelt beside her, gently wringing out a damp towel. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, it was charged, filled with all the words they hadn't yet said. Rhea stared at the cracked floor tiles, her voice low. "You should have let me leave you back at the diner. I don't drag people into my mess." Lena glanced up, her tone soft but firm. "You didn't drag me. I chose to follow. That's what everyone says before they regret it." "Then let me regret it later," Lena whispered. "Right now, you need to rest." Rhea gave a faint smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You have no idea what kind of danger you're in, do you?" Lena shrugged. "Danger's not new to me. Usually comes in the form of overdue rent and broken coffee machines." That earned a quiet laugh from Rhea, the kind that sounded foreign, almost fragile. But when she looked up, her expression darkened again. "You deserve to know what you're risking." Lena hesitated, sensing that Rhea was finally ready to tell the truth. She sat beside her, the mattress dipping slightly under their weight. Rhea took a deep breath. "I used to work for someone powerful. Someone who owns half the city and controls the other half with fear. I did things for him, things I can't undo." Lena's heart tightened. "And now he's after you?" Rhea nodded slowly. "I found something I wasn't supposed to. Evidence. Names. Money trails. Enough to burn his empire down. But before I could disappear, they caught me. Tonight, I escaped." "And you ended up in my diner," Lena said quietly. Rhea looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time, Lena saw the woman behind the armor. The tremor in her hands, the exhaustion in her eyes, the way her strength was built on years of survival. "You saved my life," Rhea said. "That's not something people usually get away with." "Guess I'm not most people," Lena murmured. Rhea's gaze softened. "No. You're not." They sat in silence for a moment. The distance between them was gone now, both physically and emotionally. Lena could feel the warmth of Rhea's shoulder against hers, the steady beat of her heart beneath the chaos. "You could still walk away," Rhea said quietly. "Forget tonight ever happened." Lena shook her head. "If I walk away, who'll make sure you don't bleed out again?" Rhea smiled faintly, eyes flicking to Lena's lips for just a heartbeat. "You're too good for this world, you know that?" Lena's voice was barely a whisper. "Maybe I just found something worth risking it for." Outside, the rain grew heavier, but inside the room, the storm felt quieter. Rhea's hand brushed against Lena's, a silent confession that neither dared to speak aloud. The motel room felt suspended in time. The rain drummed a slow rhythm outside, steady as breathing. The single lamp cast a soft amber glow that painted Rhea's face in half-shadows. For the first time since the diner, she looked almost human again, less like the city's most feared woman and more like someone who had finally stopped running. Lena sat beside her on the worn bedspread, knees brushing, fingers nervously twisting the edge of her sleeve. "You don't have to keep pretending you're made of steel," she said quietly. Rhea turned her head, studying her. "You think I'm pretending?" "I think you're tired," Lena replied. "And I think no one ever asked if you were." Something fragile flickered in Rhea's eyes, defiance melting into something softer. She leaned back against the wall, sighing. "When you spend your life being feared, you forget what it's like to be seen." Lena's voice gentled. "Then let me see you." For a moment, neither moved. The air thickened between them, unspoken words, unsteady heartbeats, and a gravity neither could resist. Rhea's hand brushed against Lena's, tentative, testing. Lena didn't pull away. Their fingers interlaced slowly, the touch deliberate, grounding. Rhea's breath hitched. "You don't even know me," she murmured. "Maybe I know enough," Lena whispered back. "You could have killed me tonight, but you didn't. You could have left me behind, but you held on." Ria's lips curved into a faint, pained smile. You make it sound like I'm worth saving. You are, Lena said simply. Ria looked away, blinking hard, as though the kindness hurt more than any wound. You shouldn't say things like that. Why not? Because I might start believing you. The words lingered in the air. Lena reached up, lightly touching Ria's cheek, her thumb tracing a faint cut near her jaw. Ria didn't flinch this time, she leaned into the warmth instead. Their eyes met, quiet, searching, full of things that could ruin or redeem them both. Ria, Lena began, but the rest of her words dissolved in the hush. Ria placed a finger gently against her lips. Keep quiet, she whispered, echoing her words from the diner. But now, it wasn't a warning, it was something tender, protective. Just, trust me. Lena nodded, her breath unsteady. The world outside disappeared. The rain, the danger, the chase, it all fell away until there was only the soft glow of the lamp and the closeness of two hearts that had finally found a moment of peace. For the first time in years, Ria allowed herself to exhale, to exist without armor. And for the first time ever, Lena realized that saving someone didn't always mean pulling them out of danger. Sometimes, it meant holding them long enough for them to feel safe again. The first light of dawn filtered through the dusty motel curtains, washing the room in pale gold. The storm had passed, but silence carried its own weight now. Lena woke first, sitting on the edge of the bed while Ria slept beside her, still, peaceful, almost fragile in the quiet. It was the first time Lena had seen her without the hardness in her eyes. The faint rise and fall of Ria's chest made her look almost ordinary, like someone who could belong to this world. Lena found herself smiling softly, brushing a strand of hair away from Ria's face. But then came the knock. 3 sharp raps against the door. Not the hesitant kind. The kind that made your heart stop. Ria's eyes snapped open instantly. In a blink, she was on her feet, gun drawn, all traces of calm gone. She motioned for Lena to stay quiet. Who is it? Lena whispered. Ria shook her head once, finger to her lips. Then, in a low voice, she said, "Stay behind me." The knock came again, louder this time. Then a man's voice through the door. "Miss Blackwood, we know you're in there." Lena's breath hitched. "Blackwood," she mouthed. Ria didn't answer. "Step away from the door, Ria," the voice continued. "You've caused enough trouble. Don't make it worse." Ria's jaw clenched. Her eyes darted to the window, too high to jump. The bathroom, no exit. They were trapped. Lena touched her arm. "We can't fight them." Ria's gaze flicked toward her. "We don't fight. We think." There was a moment's pause, only the sound of Ria's mind working at lightning speed. Then she grabbed her bag, shoved a flash drive into Lena's hand, and whispered, "If anything happens, you take this and run." "You hear me?" "What's on it?" Lena asked, panic rising. "Everything that can destroy him. Names, evidence, all of it." "And what about you?" "I'll handle them." Lena shook her head fiercely. "No. I'm not leaving you." Ria's eyes softened, just for a second. "You don't get it, Angel. You already saved me once. That's more than anyone's ever done." Before Lena could respond, the door splintered. 2 men burst in, guns drawn. Ria moved fast, swift, precise, almost inhuman. She knocked one weapon aside, shoved Lena behind the bed, and fired a warning shot that sent the men scrambling for cover. "Go," she shouted. But Lena didn't move. She reached out, grabbing Ria's arm. "I'm not leaving without you." Ria turned, fury and fear flashing across her face. "Damn it, Lena." The window shattered. Another shot rang out, embedding in the wall inches above them. Lena's scream broke the tension, and Ria grabbed her, pulling her close behind the overturned table. For a heartbeat, they locked eyes, pure chaos swirling around them. "If we make it out of this," Ria whispered, "I'll tell you everything. Who I was. What I did. Why they want me dead? Lena nodded, her voice trembling. Then let's make it out. Rhea smiled, fierce and fragile all at once. That's my girl. And together, they made a run for it, hand in hand, through broken glass and gunfire, into the dangerous daylight that promised nothing but survival. They didn't stop running until the city faded behind them, its skyline swallowed by the morning fog and the echo of distant sirens. Lena's lungs burned, her shoes soaked from the wet grass as they stumbled through the outskirts, where the concrete gave way to thick trees and uneven ground. Rhea led the way, still alert, her dark hair clinging to her face. She looked exhausted but unstoppable. Every time Lena faltered, Rhea would reach back, take her hand, and pull her forward again. It wasn't just survival anymore, it was a promise. When they finally stopped, it was in a clearing deep in the woods. A rundown cabin stood ahead, half hidden by ivy and thyme. Rhea scanned the perimeter before nodding. We can rest here. For a while. Lena dropped her bag, collapsing onto an old wooden bench by the door. You have safe houses out here? Rhea gave a small, humorless smile. Had. Years ago. Back when I thought I could control the chaos I lived in. Lena watched her move, checking windows, loading her gun, always thinking 3 steps ahead. It struck her that Rhea never really rested, she just paused between battles. Once Rhea was sure they were alone, she sank into a chair across from Lena. The tension that had carried her this far began to crack. You want to know the truth, she said softly. Lena nodded. You said you'd tell me everything. Rhea's eyes darkened. My real name is Rhea Blackwood. I was his enforcer, his shadow. I made people disappear. Collected debts. Silenced threats. I did it because it was the only way to survive. Lena's stomach turned, but she stayed quiet. I started young, Rhea continued. The city raised me that way. Violence was currency, loyalty the only law. I was good at it, too good. Until I realized the cost. Her voice dropped lower. He ordered me to kill someone who didn't deserve it. A mother. Just to send a message. That's when I knew I couldn't do it anymore. Lena's voice trembled. So you ran. Rhea nodded. And stole proof of everything he's done. That flash drive? It's enough to destroy him and everyone tied to him. Lena glanced down at the small device still clutched in her pocket. Then that means you can never stop running. Not until it's over, Rhea said. Silence settled again, heavy and raw. Lena looked at her, really looked. The woman who had terrified the city, now sitting across from her, broken and beautiful in equal measure. You think I'm a monster now, Rhea whispered, not quite meeting her eyes. No, Lena said gently. I think you're someone who's been running from one. Rhea's head lifted slightly, surprise flickering in her gaze. I don't care what you did, Lena continued, her voice steady. I care about what you're trying to do now. The forest had gone eerily quiet by the time the sun began to set. The air hung heavy with mist, and every sound, every rustle, every crack of a twig, felt too close, too deliberate. Rhea stood by the window of the cabin, staring out into the trees with her gun resting loosely at her side. Lena watched her from across the room. She could see it, the way Rhea's body was tense, how her shoulders twitched every time the wind shifted. The calm before something inevitable. Talk to me, Lena said softly. You've been silent for an hour. Rhea's voice was low. They'll find us soon. Lena's heart skipped. How do you know? Because I taught them how to track people, Rhea replied, almost to herself. And I taught them well. Lena stood, crossing the room until she was beside her. Then what do we do? Rhea turned her head, meeting Lena's eyes. We run again. But this time, we don't run together. No, Lena's answer came instantly, firm and full of fire. You're not leaving me here. Rhea sighed, closing her eyes for a brief second as if collecting strength. If they catch us both, they'll use you to break me. You can't even imagine what that means. I don't care. You should. Ria's voice cut like a knife, but the pain behind it was real. Lena, I can handle whatever happens to me. But if they touch you, I won't survive that. The silence that followed was unbearable. The distance between them suddenly felt vast, though only a few inches separated them. Lena's throat tightened as she whispered, "You said to trust you. So trust me back. Don't shut me out now." Ria's gaze softened. "You don't understand, Angel. I'm not the kind of woman who gets a happy ending." Lena reached up, her hand trembling slightly as she touched Ria's face. "Then I'll be the one who gives you one." The words broke something open. Ria's jaw clenched, her breath uneven, and for a moment, all the steel in her melted. She pressed her forehead against Lena's, closing her eyes. "You're impossible." "Maybe," Lena whispered. "But I'm yours." Ria's lips parted to answer, but the sound of an engine cut through the air outside. Tires on wet ground. Headlights piercing through the trees. Ria pulled back instantly, every muscle in her body snapping to alert. "They're here." The next moments blurred into chaos. Ria grabbed her gun, shoved the flash drive into Lena's jacket, and pointed toward the back door. "Go through the woods. Follow the stream until you see the road. Someone will find you there." "I'm not leaving." Ria grabbed her face, forcing Lena to look at her. "You have to. Please." The word please, coming from Ria, hit like a knife. Tears stung Lena's eyes. "You promised you'd tell me everything." "I am." Ria's voice trembled. "I love you. That's everything." Before Lena could speak, Ria kissed her, quick, fierce, and full of everything they didn't have time to say. Then she turned, shoving her toward the door. "Run, Angel." Gunfire shattered the quiet. Lena stumbled into the darkness, clutching the flash drive as Ria's silhouette disappeared back into the storm of bullets and shadow. The city outside was still asleep when morning light spilled softly across the room. Alina stirred awake first, the scent of coffee drifting in from the kitchen. Her body still hummed with the electricity of the night before, not from passion alone, but from the feeling of finally being seen, of being safe in someone's arms for the first time in years. She sat up, the sheets sliding down her bare shoulder, and for a long moment, she simply watched the soft rhythm of sunlight painting the walls. Sienna stood by the window, coffee in one hand, her hair slightly messy, her black shirt hanging loose around her frame. She looked human. Not the feared, dangerous woman who ran the underworld, but someone softer, freer. Her eyes caught Alina's reflection in the glass, and she smiled, a rare, almost shy smile. "You're awake," Sienna murmured. "I didn't want to wake you," Alina replied, her voice still husky with sleep. "You could never wake me in a bad way," Sienna said quietly, placing her cup down. The air between them thickened, not with danger now, but with quiet understanding. The chaos that had once surrounded them, the gunfire, the sirens, the blood, seemed like another life. Sienna crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed, brushing her fingers through Alina's hair. "You saved me, you know that?" Alina laughed softly. "Pretty sure it was the other way around." Sienna shook her head. "No. You didn't just pull me out of that alley. You pulled me out of myself. Out of the darkness I built." Alina's chest tightened. She reached out, letting her fingers trace the faint scar on Sienna's wrist, a reminder of all the times she'd fought to survive. "Then maybe we saved each other." Outside, the world went on, the hum of the streets, the calls of the vendors, the clatter of life. But in that tiny apartment, time felt suspended. Two women, from opposite sides of everything, had somehow found a middle, a space where danger met tenderness, and fear met faith. Sienna stood again, reaching for her jacket. "I still have people after me," she said softly. "But I can't keep running." Alina looked up at her. "Then don't. Stay here. We'll figure it out. Together." Sienna paused, eyes glistening. She leaned down, pressing her lips to Alina's forehead. Keep quiet, she whispered, the same words that had once been an order, now transformed into something sacred. And trust me. Alina closed her eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek, not from fear, but from the quiet promise of love that no threat could erase. When she opened them again, Sienna was looking at her like she was the only thing that mattered. And maybe she was. Because sometimes, even in a world built on secrets and blood, love doesn't whisper, it roars quietly, in the hearts of those brave enough to believe in it.